And welcome to the next episode of Enter the Matrix. And I'm here because I bought new internet source and I might be actually through the whole episode.
For now.
For now. We'll see. I wouldn't believe myself at this point as well. But we've got what everyone likes the best, which is completely scuffed hot takes. We have no clue what's happening. We are day after boot camp. So let's do a tier list because that's what a sane person does if we do not want to share too much, right? Because we are under the veil.
Views, beautiful, juicy.
Yeah, but I think with
new points
we made a mistake.
Yeah,
because we do not have either Vic or Brian. I think they might have driven the views.
That is correct. Although I am also guessing it would be very hard to pull them right now to do that shit with us.
Yeah, I think quite fair. That's fair. So anyway, boys, how are you doing, Nathan?
I'm doing really, really good. I've got my first, let's call it 10.5 tournament this weekend in Birmingham. That is the Glasshammer GT. Manny's running that. So as you can imagine, it's interestingly well run. If you haven't got a ticket, buy one soon. But no, I'm very much looking forward to that. So that'll be good. Otherwise, in life, everything's good. How are you?
Glad to hear it. And now, for anyone listening, if I'm correct, Pumbaa might actually have better audio. Because after like 8 months of doing those videos, he realized that he always had the wrong fucking mic set up.
Look, I don't actually think it has been the whole 8 months, but just the majority of them. It's been like solid couple of months at least.
But we are stuffed in now. Yeah. To be fair.
We're improving in quality. The best part definitely is I was leaning into the mic every fucking video, which did absolutely nothing.
Lovely.
Awesome.
Truly professional.
Awesome. Truly professional.
So, how are you, Pumbaa? Are you dying, and how much?
My life has become a complete struggle to keep my mental and physical health in check in the next 2 months. It's amazing. It's great. I'm doing perfectly fine. I know stuff about Warhammer, and I am definitely sure what I'm going to bring to the upcoming WTC. That is 100% correct, and I am definitely not bullshitting you right now. It's completely fine. The world is not on fire. I am definitely not this fucking dog sitting in the middle of the fire. 100% not. It's all good.
So how's work?
Working is optional, I think. Yes, my life has become a struggle to keep my job also because of the 8 hours I usually spend in my office, about 4 of those are spent on Warhammer bullshit. And somehow I am still employed. So, hey, maybe that continues. Here's hoping. Yeah.
Yeah. And myself, I'm quite good, except I'm swamped as of late to an extent that I didn't foresee, which is, well, less than ideal. But yeah, I got to play some Sisters. And, well, let's say that some messages online about the army being dead, I think
what someone do you mean,
might play the faction.
I thought Sisters with those new points, which are so expensive, cannot play this game anymore.
Yeah, that was my initial reaction. And then
This is literally what you fucking said like 30 minutes after the slate, by the way. Yeah. What the fuck, brother?
Yeah. On our chat, and then I read the Triumph again, and I was like, you know what?
Everything is fine.
it is fine. Like that unit is still busted. Like, okay, moving along. Cool. So maybe let's get to the meat and potatoes of this episode, because otherwise we'll end up with 2 hours nearly. But I will commend you for keeping the last ones to 1.5 hours. I think you guys were doing great without me, or at least with me for 30 minutes. So, respect. So, you probably do not want to see my pull request reviews, so I would rather show you my tier list, which I
yes, please, show us your tier list.
No, I can show you code reviews as well if you want to. Like, don't worry, I can do that. So, how you gonna look at this is typical teams approach, right? Which factions would we take in our team, which are like auto included, which you would consider S tier, but those are not what you would consider S tier for singles, probably. So I wouldn't expect that in auto include we'll have more than 3-4 factions at most. We should be quite deliberate whether we put a faction in S tier. Then we have the optional choices. Like when we're talking that 12 factions are in the contention for making the top 8, some of them will be in the optional choice then. Because we can choose, for example, if we're thinking about the aggressive army, you can choose orcs or ward eaters, or maybe both, but there can be argument made for both of them or neither of them. And then we have like fringe choices, probably some tech lists that we might see happening. There's the faction specialist, which I think will be designated specifically to Drukhari, and maybe AdMech. And then we have the why are we taking this faction, which I might not have any single faction nowadays in that tier.
I think we'll see. I think there's argument to be had that not a single faction makes that tier.
Let me start.
There we go.
Agents in the Y.
Yeah, that is definitely not an army. Yeah, I think there's a couple you could put that up. So we'll figure it out while we go. One question to you, gentlemen, because we actually have not discussed this beforehand. Are we looking at this from the perspective of 8 months or 5 months?
I think
there's a definite difference, right?
Yeah.
I would look at it as 8-man using WTC terrain.
That's fair.
That's my vote. I don't know what you two want.
That's good.
And WTC missions.
Yeah. It's basically everybody from that is right now preparing for WTC looking for us to tell them what to bring. It's going to be awesome. And me and Typh is basically going, oh, whoa, la, la, definitely not bringing that faction.
Yeah, we are joking
it's gonna be fine.
that this is like the episode that the whole show ends because no one will trust us afterwards, right? And
Exactly.
surely after having like 4 days of playing on the new rules, our decisions that we are making now surely wouldn't even fucking change for WTC in next 2 weeks, right? So if we make our decisions now, they are final.
I definitely did not craft 5 exclusive team comps in the 2 days after.
That's 20 minutes?
Basically, it feels like, yeah. I pop out a team comp every like an hour to keep myself sane.
I mean, everyone has their own way of dealing with pressure and stress. So let's start with the interesting ones. Nathan, Thousand Sons. How do you feel about them?
Thousand Sons are in a very weird place. Before the update, they definitely would have gone into auto-include. They were strongly and fastly becoming, arguably, under the right hands, one of the better, if not the best, teams list. Right now, GW giveth and GW taketh. They have got a couple of good buffs in the way that you can now indirect for cheaper. You can do strats differently. You can now move Magnus more freely, but he can only move twice now. You can't triple move him anymore.
Okay. Let me interrupt you. Pumba, how often have you triple moved Magnus?
Fringe, not often, basically. From my play with T-Suns, triple moving Magnus was not a thing that happened. Usually, it sometimes happened when there was objective play, especially ending the game, like on, say, 5th turn, right? I think the biggest change with the triple moving the same unit would be the cultists, as you cannot do that anymore. And that is something that was usually done to completely block your opponents out of at least one flank of your deployment zone.
Yes. I think the fact that Magnus is indirect now also only hits on 4s does hurt a little bit. Obviously, it's not too bad because you get full rerolls.
Yeah, just reroll that shit, right? It's gonna be
Yeah.
fine.
So
And
for
like,
me,
most of the army, if I may interrupt, most of the army
Yeah, go on.
still, if you indirect all your infernal masters, still just
Exactly.
out to hit. So
yeah.
it's fine.
So it still has a lot of the punch. The only thing I would need to see is, from the testing I've seen of it, it maybe struggled a little bit with scoring. So that comes down to a little bit, if we're talking about more general team play, how far they go down certain routes of scoring, as in what mission combinations do they choose. But for me, I would put them in optional choice. I don't think they've actually taken a nerf to push them into fringe. I would still see, if you have they're kind of we have a faction specialist or optional choice. It's kind of a weird one where I think a third of the teams will at least take it.
And I think there is a layer with T-Sons that they are really good in specific metas. There's a reason why they weren't played in the Night Spinner CSM meta, and they went dead. And then they got better when those armies died. And I think they are very meta dependent. And we will see, depending how stuff evolves, whether they might. I wouldn't be surprised if they are busted or they do not actually make sense in the meta. Like, both of those I can see happening, because I do not think we are nearly even close to having the meta solved. And I think maybe we'll have after WTC. Maybe like few weeks.
My perspective on it, actually, from the team's perspective, I think the biggest change that happened is the Exalted Sorcerer change. Because that model was so crucial in dealing with some pressure armies, and Titans and Suns, because of that model, that single model, were so great at it. After the Exalted Sorcerer change, I think they might not do that same role nearly as well. And I'm wondering if they have a specific place. I still think they are very strong. I'm just wondering how exactly that weakens some of the pairings that they were very good into. If that changes them, if they struggle against that, if they pivot into other pairings and stuff like this.
I think it is hard to assess how it impacted their matrix and estimations, right?
Yeah, and I do believe the missions don't premium them nearly as much as some of their armies. I think they have the amount of units problem, let's call it. They don't specifically like spending one of their rubric squads, for example, to just click a button somewhere on the board.
So recover assets. Woo!
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I think optional is completely fair.
Yeah.
They're in that weird position where, as the meta develops, they are auto-include or fringe choice. They're never, and that's how they've been the entire edition of 10th. They're either amazing or not really seen. That's kind of where they are a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Moving on, because we still have like 20 factions to go through.
Yeah.
Admech. I am struggling to assess this army so much, because I think this army was struggling to kill a lot. It got a significant damage boost with AP. And it is a significant damage boost because on face value, like, most of your units suddenly increased by like 1/6 of their damage output, right? It is a lot, depending on the target you're facing, obviously, because sometimes it might be more. But it is a huge change. But at the same time, I find that I am not sure was the way to play it. I would expect this army to play like I swarm you, move block you, and you cannot do much, because this army has a lot of cheap units still, with some last cannon chickens behind. But I really cannot assess the army, because beforehand it was played by like 5 people across the world, right? Do you have good experience with the faction? Come on. Any one of you? How many games against Admech you've played this edition?
One. A single one.
Yeah. Nathan, you probably a little bit more, but still, how many?
Yeah, like I've played against the old version twice, the new version 3 times, and it's still so what it's gained in damage output, it's now lost in what it used to do, which was the board blocking. So How that translates into WTC scoring, I don't quite know yet.
This is Admech. I think may be one of the most interesting choices right now because it's a new codex. It's legitimately. I think the changes between the old Admech and the new Admech right now after the slate are bigger than some of the changes between.
I think they released 3
to
books
codex.
basically 1 week ago. They released Sisters, GSC, and Admech.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I am definitely of the opinion that Army is better right now. I have seen it played. I have seen it shoot. I think it actually does damage now, which is very nice to see. And with all the scoring pieces that you might bring onto the board, like Pteraxi, Sterilizers, stuff like this is still great. I think they do. I can clearly see that Army might play well now. However, I still feel like it needs a very specific pilot who abuses the Army to its full extent, right? I think I would be comfortable exactly putting it into faction specialist, because if you decide for your WTC team to bring it, I think you need someone that has still a very intimate knowledge with the army. I don't think it's an army that you can jump into and just perform extremely well, even now.
Yeah. Other factions, you can gather like the knowledge from players around to assess how it changed, whether it's better, whether it's worse, how the matchup changed. And here, I do not think we have that collective knowledge of the faction. Because
I actually would suggest something about the tier list. I would put the faction specialist before the fringe choice. Because I personally, like, just swap them around, right? Because I personally agree. Right now, we are in that great place where faction specialism might be a very good reason to bring something into the team.
For WTC, absolutely yes. And I like that suggestion. Done.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Moving on. Pumbaa, Eldar. How do you like your God's gift to Eldar, from what I heard? And that army is truly balanced. From what I played. When you first time in your life one-shot a Land Raider with a D-Cannon, you cannot get off that drive. So...
So, I will repeat what I said previously on this very show. One day, we will find a points cost and rules for the D-Cannon to be balanced. It still is not balanced, actually, I believe. It's kind of fucking crazy. It started from, correct me if I'm wrong, 75? Nah, it's 55. Like 65 points, 75, around that, right? So it's almost double the points. It doesn't have the Spill Dev wounds. It cannot abuse the fate dice as much. It now only can hit on force. It's worse in every single. It cannot overwatch you whenever you make the mistake of coming into 24 inches. And it's still pretty good, which is insane, by the way. Okay, but in all honesty, Eldar have lost a lot of units now. As in, now with combined with the previous nerfs, when they lost a unit, maybe 1.5 units, and did some swaps around, now I feel like they have actually lost
another 1.5.
Basically, and that actually might bring them down to a reasonable level. And I will remind everybody here, we are talking about teams, because I believe Eldar matchups might be one of the most polarized out of all of the factions. They, if they get something that they are good against, they will absolutely demolish it. If they get something that they struggle against, they will crumble, and you will get a 0 from that very table. As a team's factions, I still like them a lot. I think those specific anti-vehicle, for example, lists that have a specific purpose, they will still do amazingly well. They still have the MSU aspect that helps you with the mission play, especially now. I think they are one of the best armies to do missions with in the whole Warhammer. So I like them as an optional choice now. I don't think they are good enough right now, just on their face value, to always bring into the team. Whereas
I think you need to be.
they were at the auto include step previously.
You need to be very well versed with the faction. I find before, when you were playing the MSU, you could lose a unit and be like, okay, I'm fine. But now that you already lost a unit, you probably do not have another unit because you need to swap it for something else. Suddenly, it is getting worse and worse. So yeah, I find this could be a huge meta call with Eldari, as we said, because the estimation matrix is very polarizing. What do you think, Nathan?
So yeah, for me, they are on the borderline between auto-include and optional choice.
Mm-hmm.
They have lost some bits, but I think with how other people's armies have been decreased, I think they've lost potentially other bad matchups that they did have previously in the meta. I think that with the way that they are probably one of the few armies that can still score most of their 40 points on cards, especially with being able to take an autark and being able to go through your cards. Basically, you're going to get all the cards you want effectively when you need them, hopefully. For me, I kind of put them as bottom of auto-include, but optional choice is definitely there. If you've got a good enough player with them, there's quite a lot of Eldari players. I suspect a lot of teams will take Eldari.
Yeah, I think there's like a layer with Eldar that you are one of the best factions to play secondaries, and you were kind of bad with playing primary before, so you're one of the factions that benefits the most from new secret mission mechanic.
That is massive for them, yeah. Mm-hmm. There will be games at WTCs where they turn around and go, I went second and I got, 90? Because I got 40 for primary, 40, and then 10 for turning up.
Yeah, what was that mission that we are dreading, Pumbaa? The tipping point... Linchpin, yeah.
Linchpin with Linchpin
43
and missions. You can basically max out your primary in a single turn.
Primary turn 5.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I think they are still good. I think to some extent you need to have now dedicated Eldar player to know that faction. But if you probably already had one before. Like, come on, that army was busted throughout the whole edition. You already had Eldar player. So I think with that in mind, it is not a niche army, so we can put it in optional choice. So
okay, let's talk our Black Templars Ironstorm, boys. Is this finally dead? Is it over? Is the boogeyman finally put to sleep?
So can I ask we do one thing first?
Of course.
Yeah.
Can we do Blood Angels first? Because it might explain a lot of the other Marine choices.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Blood
you want to do that, Nathan?
Fucking
good. Blood Angels, auto-include.
They are pretty good.
Yeah, if you have any kind of vaguely heavy table, the mass jump pack MSU with a couple of big smash units is brutal for a lot of armies.
They are
because while it packs a bigger punch than most people, it has it's a bit like how we used to discuss Eldar being. It's slightly obnoxiously annoying to kill. Blood Angels have that as well. When you have Sangard with 2-up saves, you can cover AOC. When Dante's in a big unit of 10, then -1 to hit, -1 to wound, AOC. It's just like you actually, that 10-man unit comes out, wipes anything on an objective, wipes any big thing in the game, basically. Maybe that's the Death Company unit, but whatever. Then you have to put an obnoxious amount of stuff back into it to kill it. And then he's got 10 other units that do similar-ish damage. So, yeah, I think for those that don't necessarily know, WTC caps you at 1 Marine army. So Black Templars, Space Wolves, Space Marines, Death Watch, Dark Angels, all the same. So you might see us put Marine factions lower than you would probably think we're going to put them. But that might just be because it is very hard to pick an army over Blood Angels.
Absolutely fair. And one addition, they also have a very specific role in the team, I feel like, because that is the definitive melee army, right? I don't think any melee army can realistically go into it and be fine with it.
There's also one more thing. I find that with at least with my games when I played this format, sometimes the draws and how the scoring and the missions work, if you are under immense pressure, it can be very hard to get secondaries. Because now you cannot advance to get those missions. You need to be in a position beforehand, and you kind of cannot be in a position beforehand against pressure armies. So there's additional value for those factions, and also there's additional value when we are talking about team comp, that you have those high scoring factions, because I would expect sometimes it might be even easier to build a draw army nowadays, unless you are playing against a faction that just pushes you to the wall and you cannot do much.
Like, this army could legitimately be put forward and take a heavy table, and it's probably beating most armies in the game.
Yeah.
Realistically,
Yeah.
it is. It can be like
It's pretty good. It came out like a bandit from the data slate. They basically didn't lose anything. They were extremely good. I am incredibly surprised with no nerfs to especially Death Company shooting, which for some unknown reason still has rerolls everything to hit. I guess they are very angry with those pistols.
Mate, they are angry. Come on, like.
I mean,
So-
I love my fucking Blood Angels, so I'm fine with that. Holy, what a time to be alive!
Okay,
Finally, Blood
so
Angels.
are we at that point having a conversation that every other Marine army is between free choice, and why?
No, I don't think so. Because I think there are still choices, especially. So I started talking about Ironstorm, because I was kind of baiting you with that question: is Ironstorm completely dead? And I really don't think it is.
No, it's not.
Like, I have heard opinions of people just going, Ironstorm completely died. It is buried in the depths of hell. It will never come out. I legitimately think that's not the case. I think you can still bring it. I think as a put forward, it is still kind of obnoxious. It might be one of the better gun lines in the game. It's that easy. Even with all the changes. So just you don't want to bring the fucking Storm Ravens for 280, brother.
Like, the lethal hits aura was bigger hit than the fallback aura. From the games I played against Black Templars, and granted I played them with Sisters or Necrons or Eldar, so whatever, I don't think I really touched them that much in melee in a way that they couldn't dig themselves out without the melee.
Yeah, especially with things like Vindicators, I don't think the fallback and shoot aura is so crucial. However, that's the same aura that grants you advance and shoot, and I think that's bigger.
That one is bigger.
Yeah. It lost mobility. It liked the table choice before. I think now it might require the table choice to be effective, just do not get screwed on terrain and stuff. However, I still feel like they are good.
So you might have seen that I moved Chaos Space Marines next to Black Templars. If you're talking about a shooting army with vehicles, why would you choose Black Templars over Chaos Space Marines then? Nathan.
So the only little, like, two small buffs to say Ironstorm were obviously any of the Primaris style tanks that are on a big round base basically rotate for free now, which did help their mobility somewhat. The other thing with them is obviously Bring It Down is less points now. So your opponent would have to kill, if your list has 10 vehicles, they do have to kill all of them on a fixed, which they then have to choose between cards, which you now get a lot less points from, or Bring It Down, which now you get less points from. So those two small buffs, I know they did take some nerfs, and it's hard to pick them over Blood Angels. But I still think a couple of teams might take Ironstorm. But if we're talking about CSM, Vashtorm, or whatever you want to call it, it's damage on steroids.
I think it's Dreadnought, right? You press the button, you gain some, like, you deal some damage to you, and you smash out everybody. That's the one, right?
Well, I think the same applies to Renegade Raiders, right? Like,
yes.
Renegade Raiders feel like Ironstorm before.
Mm-hmm.
That's an opinion, definitely. That is definitely one of the opinions. I think those armies differ in some ways. I see where you're coming
Yeah.
from. I don't think they are exactly the same, though.
One doesn't have Reapers. I will
And
agree.
one doesn't have Warp Talons.
Yeah.
But one has Rubric Marines that are better than the Thousand Sons Rubric Marines army.
Sure.
So much.
I legitimately think both of those, if you are discussing Scale Space Marines and Black Templars, are optional. Are they fringe? I think they are optional. I couldn't say they need a faction specialist. I think those playstyles are very...
I expect to see
Straightforward.
more CSM than Black Templars.
See, I would put CSM in auto include.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow. Wow, wee
Boy.
wah.
I have played
Yes.
so many games against Raiders, and it is such a night. Well, Josh is playing Raiders now. Spoiler alert. And it is such a nightmare.
Wow, wee wah.
So it is dodging the next nerf patch. That's what I'm hearing.
No.
I am surprised with that because with all the nerfs the CSM got, I am not convinced they are as strong as...
I don't
You
think
say
you
they
do.
are.
I don't think you take warp talents. You don't need them.
Yeah, sure. I completely get that. And I see where the profiles might still work and everything. But there's not a lot of stuff anymore. Like, legitimately, those lists that I saw most often used lost like 200 points, right? So you need to basically almost entirely cut the warp talents or something else.
You just don't play Warp Talons then, because they went
Yeah,
so-
sure.
Yeah, you don't play them. Like, I think Josh's list went up 50.
Again?
Wow.
I'm sorry.
It was just 50 points. So you can see Josh's list that he's taking a glass hammer this weekend. I really rate it, but again, England loves their little echo chambers, so we'll see where we get on with that.
What is the name
I
of the tournament actually? What the fuck?
glass hammer?
I mean,
Uh,
let Pumba cook now.
I don't know. I played it
I
quite a lot of
think
times. I think it plays the MSU vehicle trading game very well.
I
But
think
it's singles.
about
It's singles.
CSM. There is one quad that Skark played like a few games with that faction, and I loved it. That when talking about Warp Talons, he said that those are like manticores on steroids because you just kill stuff behind the wall and
Yes.
just repeat it next turn. So he treated
He's
Warp
accurate.
Talons as just another piece of indirect.
He's accurate. He's accurate.
The lists are fucking hidden.
Oh,
GG.
I'll send it
They're
to
still
you.
hidden. We're just
Okay.
literally just fucking Josh's list out there in the wild. I mean, we can move them up. I don't know shit anymore.
Yeah, optional choice is
We will
fine.
add-
It's 2-1. It's 2-1.
At the end, we'll adjust
Sure.
Sure.
because we always do. Because we are hot taking the shit out of it, and we have no clue. And 105 people are watching us. What the fuck? Chaos Knights. I think they gained quite a bit.
I think they
this-
didn't.
I think they lost more than they gained.
I agree with Nathan.
Nate? Okay.
So,
Oh,
I
shit.
fucking love 10.5 edition. It's great. We definitely know a lot of those stuff.
so I've played a couple of games of Chaos Knights now with the new thing, and the problem you've got is you've lost all your action monkeys. So your ability to play a lot of the
Yeah, Nurglings, right.
Yeah, you've lost all the Nurglings, which kind of the big knight got a lot better. So I was playing around with like Tyrant, 5 Brigands, 4 Carnivores, Brigand with the Harpoon Flamer was
And
fantastic.
then you get recover assets, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. There's quite a lot of. They're still volatile. Like I only have 9 baby knights now, and if the big knight goes, oh, there's a Death Company squad. Shit, you know what I mean. So they're okay. They're still volatile. They are still a 5 to 15 point army, which you just can't have on your team, and they can't do actions very well because they don't have cheap scoring. So, do you take fixed? Fixed is pretty hard these days.
So
Yeah,
one
because
of it's only
what's
it's-
worthwhile, am I correct? Recover assets got removed as fixed.
Yes.
Yeah, because we basically said
There was
that's-
like a slight change in one of the files that was released amongst those 6 files that were released. So unless you might have missed that, whoever is listening or watching, right?
It's in the tournament packet. In the Pereira tournament packet.
Yeah, because it was a little bit too. I have a loan op just here, and I have a loan op just here. Cool, you can't do anything about them. And then
that's-
last turn, if I get last
that's
turn,
definitely-
I do something in your deployment zone, I get 20.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that sucks.
Absolutely. I think I agree with Nathan. I think they lost a lot. I see people talking about bringing the Big Knight, maybe Rampager. I don't think that exists. I think the moment you maybe go out like from behind the wall, you maybe charge something, you maybe kill it, but the output is actually not that amazing. Then you get absolutely torn to bits. It's still 400 points down.
And
the
we
drain.
look at the top 3 armies we have now, which is Blood Angel, CSM,
That's-
and Eldari, and we're like,
And then
why
there's
would
like
you play
pieces and
Chaos
fucking
Knights?
Ironstorm. I'm sorry, but you look at the top of
And
the
you
meta,
know
think
what I
every single
like
army
about
destroys them.
putting Chaos Knights in Y tier? That Matt Morsoli might be mad about it.
That's fair. That's a good argument right now.
Typhus, you can't put things on tier list just because you want to troll people. That's not how this podcast works. We're trying to be
Do
respectful
you agree with
and
it?
professional.
No,
But do
we
you
are
agree with
doing
it,
it
though?
in the Y category because they suck. And also
But they
to
are
piss
better
off my
than
Murasar.
Imperial agents.
Yeah,
They
they
are
are.
better than Imperial agents.
You could argue they're a fringe choice. Some people will take them, but I just think they struggle now.
I think they will struggle even more right now. I think the
'Cause-
meta has not improved. I think they get tagged. They can't do missions in combat. It's so many stuff I don't like about them.
Like I played a double rampager game, and both of them, I moved 2 carnivores through a wall with the strat, and then I moved 2 rampagers and rolled double 1. I'm like, cool story, bro. This army sucked.
Average.
It's like, ah.
Not a thing.
So, Custodes, our favorite golden boys that are very balanced and always create very interactive gameplay. Nathan, what can you say about this interactive gameplay?
So they did get good buffs. They are a bit better. Whether they are anywhere near being a good choice, I'm not sure. I think I've seen a few lists that are maybe running a bit more heavy in the forge roll department. Like if you take 18 of the Hawk boys and you can rapid ingress all of them in one turn, that's proved to be pretty good on table. If you can't play around it, they took a significant points decrease. But they still overall had the same issue of they went from having their index where they had all the good strats in one set of 6 to spread over multiple detachments. But they did get some nice buffs.
Yeah, I think
So,
the
fringe choice for me.
So,
100%
how
agree.
much do you think the Khalidus aura buffed Custodes after all?
I think it might have nerfed them. I am not sure because they hate being like their stratagems are quite decent and there's still some offensive ones. They kind of fucking hate getting their CP increase right now. But I think the overall change to like battle tactics not being a thing anymore that you care about is a huge boon to Custodes, with the shield captains actually having rules right now. Massive. And with the combined with Shield Host getting a solid buff and all of the other detachment as well, I can see them maybe having a niche. And that's my take on it. They still die incredibly fast compared to their old version.
Yeah.
They don't have the fight first, they don't have the -1 damage, they don't have the things that made them incredibly tanky, so you need to do something else. Maybe the Venatari spam, but the Venatari spam seems like such a gimmick that you can just work around, right? Put them
Can
there.
we agree on this one?
Yeah. Put them in the fringe choice. They'll be fine.
Chaos Demons. I cannot say what I think about this army because beforehand, every interaction I had with it on the opposing side of the table, I felt that army consisted of 2,000 points of nothing. And
It's a lot of fun, nothing. But
sure, but at the end of the game, it was actually 0 points of nothing. And I don't know if that one changed. Because they got a lot of rule buffs, but I don't know if it changes the dynamic of the army hitting like a wood noodle. Except Shalaxi. Okay.
Except Shalaxi. I think they are way better.
agreed.
And way better from where they were is probably a fringe choice still. Is my take on it. Because they will still struggle, I'm sorry. But they will be way more fun to play. They will have more tricks up their sleeve. They save a lot of points by not bringing something like a Bellacore. I think they are valid.
And this is the only faction that can play fixed behind
possibly,
New Homers.
Possibly. I think they have play. I think they can score. I think they are fine. They are like the you wouldn't, if you had a player who loves them, for example, he was very practiced against the meta. I think they might surprise people still because demons have been so shit recently that not many people have reps against them, but they will struggle against almost every top armies. I'm wondering if they are faction specialist army or just a fringe choice, to be honest.
I'd rather take Custodies than Demons.
I agree.
I would rather take demons.
That's fine.
So
oh boy, I love this.
So I've played a couple of games with demons recently, and I actually quite like them. I'm not saying they're optional choice, but I think they might fall into faction specialists now. They have phenomenal strats, and actually, Bloodthirst has got a huge boost. The being able to move so much better is a godsend for them. Oh, by the way, I see loads of comments on like the Chaos Demon pages and all that stuff being like, "Oh, you've killed Bloodthirsters." No, they haven't killed Bloodthirsters. You just weren't moving them correctly. There's a very, very different thing. But for Chaos Demons, all the enhancements got huge buffs because they're always in shadow range now. Bloodthirsters slap. Whether they have a bit of the same issue that we just talked about with Chaos Knights, where you have an expensive thing. Is it trading correctly? Maybe it isn't. But I think they have a lot more play in them now. So I wouldn't be surprised if a top team takes it. Like a Germany probably will take like a Chaos Demons with a faction specialist. I think they have play in them now. But fringe choice, faction specialist, I get it. I wouldn't put them in optional choice, yeah.
I think a faction specialist is actually fair for them. I think if you have a demons player who has been playing the demons out, like shit out of demons, you might consider bringing them.
I think at this point we need to distinguish faction specialists and fringe choice. And I think faction specialists will always talk about factions that you do not have many reps against, right?
Yeah.
Possibly, yes.
That there's like additional value of the faction being so low play rate beforehand, at least on the top level, that you are getting additional benefit of bringing that faction as it's not as well known throughout the other teams, right?
That's fair.
Yeah, effectively,
Also, I think
if you have your 8-man team right now and none of you have ever played demons, none of those 8 are now going to pick up demons.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
Yeah.
As in the faction, as in Admech or demons, don't have playing patterns which are particularly similar to any other factions. As we've discussed, things like Custodies don't ever have a very sneaky, hard to figure out playstyle on anything, right? They just fucking run at you, they position well, they do melee, they sometimes shoot with draft tanks, you sometimes ingress. It's very straightforward compared to things like Admech and demons still. I think that's also a factor.
Yeah.
Dark Angels.
Dark.
So all I'm saying, guys, it's almost WTC season, right? And all I'm saying is Deathwing Knights got buffed.
I think Dark Angels are really good.
It's
okay, Leshu was talking about 3 squads of Deathwing Knights.
I fucking told you.
Yeah, in a Gladius, company champions, out of vehicles. It's very good. It's just not as good as Blood Angels, unfortunately.
It's Deathwing Knight season. It's WTC coming. Grab your land raiders, throw them at people.
Death Watch. Come on, boys. Death Watch.
We will talk about
Death-
Death Watch. And
Yeah, we'll get to them.
exactly. Just place the Dark Angels into Fringe choice, please.
Do we think
After
they
all
are
that-
worse than Iron Storm?
I think they are. I personally think they are. I don't think they have a role such as like Iron Storm for me is still you had a lot of reps in Iron Storm. You give it first table choice, second table choice. It has a very specific role. It's still you might still struggle to find a good enough answer.
I think Deathwing Knights have very unique defensive profile that might just fuck the meta. Again. There's not much -1 damage, I think.
No, but like there's still combat things these days that will still kill that block.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's 5 men, not 10 men, right?
Yes. It's not exactly. That's what I mean. If they were in 10 minutes, that we would be discussing them differently. I think.
Yeah.
Like
you
you would
cannot-
be painting another 10.
Exactly. But right now, you can't. I don't really see how this army, like the Death Knights, are a great addition. I think they are legitimately good units. I think that army can perform. I think it has a build. My problem is you bring those 15 Deathwing Terminators and Azrael probably because he's still dope as fuck. And maybe like a Dark Shroud or something, and then you struggle to fill it up with good enough units to justify playing Dark Angels over any other type of specialist Space Marines like Blood Angels, right?
Sure.
You will be mostly playing the good stuff
It is
Marine build.
It is Codex Deathwing Knights.
Yeah.
Kind of, I feel like, right now. I actually haven't looked into Inner Circle Companions. I think they got buffed, but I think they are still kind of ass.
And I find the army is very similar to Custodes, right? At least
A
in the
little
face
bit.
value.
But actually
little
tough.
bit.
It has chop. Like scouts are better than anything Custodes can field.
Yeah, agreed.
In terms of stuff, yes.
So
Yeah, I think
would
it's a fringe choice. I would not trust bringing Dark Angels over many other Space Marine builds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the argument that Iron Storm is an obvious. We do not have a defender. Here's our first defender. You figure this shit out.
And I think Dark Angels are in their experimental stage. Whereas when I see them perform well, I might have a different opinion. Right now, I haven't. Right.
So, Pumbaa, your favorite stinky boys.
Why? Oh,
Is
why?
Mortarion viable? Finally.
He got fucking
Can
nerfed,
you-
brother. That's the
Why?
situation we are at. Because now your PBCs will never be shooting in on freeze even next to that boy. And generally the Death Guard changes I feel like are that army just got nerfed in many aspects with no real upsides because God knows Blightlord Terminators are still nowhere near good enough for taking them. So you just lost stuff. You lost your action monkeys with Nurglings, your PBCs and Mortarion package that you might have considered bringing to like have a we have guard at home. It was a niche for the army, right? You could have Mortarion with the 3 PBCs, especially in teams. You skew into that. You play against armies that don't expect you to bring to have any no line of sight, out of line of sight shooting. Now it's worse. Mortarion doesn't give them shit. PBCs are still 180, and I hate this.
And then you play Pumbaa and lose him in Overwatch, yes?
Yeah, exactly. So just you never should have brought him in the first place, and now you have even less reason to do so. I legitimately
I don't think any positives for the faction with the new changes.
They don't like how many like how slow they are in terms of missions. You have decent platforms for mission play in terms of Blight drones. They like the new bring it down changes. It's a positive for sure.
Yeah,
it's
so
harder
that's
for
what I
people
wanted to
go
ask. Nathan,
fixed.
with your experience, you were playing at ITT, right, with the full vehicle list. How do you feel it changed?
So it's weird because it technically didn't take a nerf because it couldn't do half the things anyway. I didn't have advance and chart or had advance anyway to do actions, so I didn't lose that anyway. I've actually felt that it feels like the meta is a little bit more combat, and my list felt quite good into combat armies. So I didn't think it was that bad. Now, do I think it makes an 8? Probably not, because I think for singles, that vehicle spam list, if the terrain is lighter, it works. If the terrain is very heavy, it's going to struggle more. My list became even more tank heavy. I've taken out 3 chaff units and put in 2 blight haulers, so I've gone up to 14 tanks. So actually having Bring It Down come down has helped a lot. Actually, my list is a lot better now. But yeah, I would still put them in fringe choice, which pains me.
That faction was legitimately mid. I think that especially after seeing how it performed at Alpine, seeing it at ITT, other events.
Before it was a faction specialist faction.
I think it was like optional, at least. It was like you put it down, it's a defender, it's a nullifier, right? You need some nullifiers in your team, especially in 8s. It's fine, it's not going to do super great, but if you try to push into it, it can punish you. It plays the mission okay. It has enough units, stuff like this. And it only gotten worse with the things around it not particularly happening. Like, it might benefit from some of the top nerfs, the nerfs from the top factions, but overall, I am not super psyched out about the guard in general.
It's also kind of a weird one. The Plague Marines, ironically, in a very combat-heavy meta, arguably are worse because they actually get out-combated by quite a lot of things to the point where it can become
Plague Marines is a shooting unit. It was never a combat unit, but I think it has... Alright, I think fringe choice is completely fine. I would actually put them at the top of fringe choices because you can find a niche for them. As in, I don't know, I still build my Death Guard list to absolutely demolish orcs. I think you can still do that, right? But it's a gamble in a sense, in that you will play against orcs. And overall, that faction doesn't specifically beat anything super highly. And it's just, I am very disappointed, in honesty. I think you can tell. As in, I think some of the rebalancing internally in the codex would have been fine. But if your 2 best characters go up and the biologist gets nerfed, as in you cannot even double grenade anymore with them, at all, as in, like, you can do it multiple times but not in the same turn.
And also the grenade nerfs, right?
And the grenade nerfs also hurt you. There's a lot of stuff that went wrong, and the consolidation plays of like reducing blight haulers and blight terminators, I don't think that it makes up anything. Like those units, I don't think are unfortunately good enough to bring in like the all-rounder Death Guard build. Maybe in a skew, right?
Okay.
Overall, disappointed.
Why sisters aren't auto-include?
I don't know, Typhus. Tell us. I thought they were dead.
So again, let's talk about that. I think for a second I thought the army was dead on the release, and then I looked again into how the lists build, played some tests, and I think the army is fucking broken.
Yeah. No. That it was the first message I got it at like Thursday afternoon at work when the data slate dropped is Typhus going, guys, I think they overdone it. I think the sisters are not going to play well now. I think it's too much. Yeah, definitely too fucking much.
And then I went for the training camp, and my point of view completely changed.
I think they're quite okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they are better than Blood Angels, but I would put them over Blood Angels for one reason. You can choose different kind of Marines. You will not choose different Codex of Sisters.
Yeah, sure.
And I think the army is broken, and you can make different choices in detachments. And I think you have 3 detachments that you can make an argument to play with. depending on what the role within the team you want to build. And even though the changes were harsh, they seem harsh, then you play on the board and realize that it feels like 9th at Drukhari once again.
It's pretty good. The Triumph is one of the most obnoxious death hits, and I hate it.
No, that one should just be removed.
The Triumph is unfixable with points.
Yeah,
it's beyond broken. It's a different kind of just.
I think like the price point for the unit now is probably around 300, which is insane.
Yeah, especially for that defensive profile. And then you look at all that she gives you. Then you look at Mortarion, and you're like, motherfucker, you're like Mortarion has the better defensive profile, sure, but offensively, not even. And in terms of what he gives your army and the auras and everything, is like not comparable. And the guy is 325, and he's sometimes considered. And the Triumph is 190.
I think the ability of giving you auto 6 is faction defining with the things you can do from turn 1. So yeah, I think this army is broken.
I got nothing to add. Yeah,
I think we have another Eldari on our hands, which I'm sad to say. I wouldn't like my faction to be in that spot, but I think this is a faction that will need like a few layers of nerfs.
Yeah, the points kind of rather than having
they tried
10 busted builds, there's now like 3 busted builds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 70%. It's pretty good, but it didn't. Yeah, it doesn't actually fix them as a.
Mm-hmm. I think that's perfectly fair.
I think they are still way better in hands of a very skilled player, but I think every team should have them.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm also very sisters biased, so you know. Anyway, Drukhari. I still don't know. Like, I'm still not sold. I still have those models waiting in my cupboard on the left, and I still don't feel like it's enough.
So they struggle a little bit with the fact that in your Eldar army, you probably want to take Inari. So if you take 15 Scourges in your Eldar army, which is a optional choice / auto include, then you can't take Drukhari. If you're going to take solo Drukhari, I think there is something with 18 Grots. I actually think they are very viable now. With having a 6 Flame as a unit and being a anti-marine profile, strength 5, -2, full wheels to hit, 2 damage.
Fight on that.
Yeah, it has the potential to actually, this 6 of them, when you take them in the other detachment, you can go -1 to wound, decent toughness, most things wound them on 4s. There's a viability to grotesques again. Whether I like the full faction, there's a couple of things you can do with the now pivoting ability with like a raider can deep strike, pivot for free, and it effectively has like, I think it's a 6-inch charge now. It's quite useful for certain abilities. Being able to pivot a lot of the tanks now is quite good. Ravagers can actually move. One thing that is a little bit busted, broken in this edition now is anything on a 60mm base can just go through any gap that it kind of wants to. So Dark Eldar definitely got a buff for that aspect. For me, I wouldn't put them in Fringe anymore. I would actually put them in Faction Specialist. But they're teetering on the line. They'd be like bottom. I would rather take Admech, and I would rather take Demons. Because I'd rather take Scourges in my Eldari.
That's the thing, right? I think they are pushed down just because Eldari exist, and they just still. No, don't just do that to me. But Deathwatch got buffs, right? Sure. They are. It's not an army. I'm sorry. It's my first army. It still fucking sucks. Let's just move on. I cannot stand like the talking about Deathwatch anymore. I think like just kill the faction at this point. I need to sell my models, by the way. I need to jump off the ship before it hits the mountain.
If someone wants to buy the army at WTC, Pumba can bring it, right?
That's a statement and a half.
It's not like every other stream someone just offers that. Just give me a price point and I will do something dumb, right?
Look. If I sell my Death Watch, I don't have any Space Marines left because they have been every Space Marine list I have ever built. So that's the one reason they are still in my closet.
Cool. GSC. I think we are very early with the faction, but I think it is a clearly an army that I would say in the early days and with how low play rate it had, I would just directly play it, put it somewhere in faction specialist. I think it is decent, better than what the internet says. But I just think you need to have a person on your team at this point that already was a GSC player beforehand and can translate the experience that they had towards the new book.
So I am proposing bringing on it's either faction specialist, or we just make another tier list and call it Eric Lathera's tier. Because it's either him or fucking nothing, brother. Look, if Eric plays them, I will completely just I will fear it. I will cry at night thinking about what that army can do to me. I will be terrified. Yeah, it's if you have Eric Alatheros in your team, do bring GSC, and you will probably win that event. Otherwise, consider not doing so.
Now I need to check the Facebook messages whether I butchered his name. No, I didn't.
Good job.
Did not.
Yeah, it's definitely an Eric Lathera's tier.
Okay, but in all seriousness.
In all seriousness, I'm completely serious. You think I'm fucking shitting you, but I'm not. I am legit. I think that faction is awful. I think it's worse than people say it is. I think people are just sugarcoating how bad this codex is. I think it's absolute ass. I think you cannot do anything. You're playing front to back. Your profiles suck. You are just struggling to do anything.
Can we appreciate how Pumba is weaving in League of Legends terms?
That's actually listen to shit. Because what I
think you'll find it's called League of Lesbians, not League of Legends.
Listen here. I'm at the point where like the psychic damage I'm taking from just thinking about Warhammer in my daily life has made me play League of Legends again. With my friends, though. I am not solo queuing. I am mainly playing ARMs, but I'm doing that almost every day, like at least one game to heal my mental. Imagine
fight
how bad
cancer with cancer.
Like legitimately, imagine how bad it has gotten if I have to play League now to like keep myself sane. So yes, front to back is definitely something that will come up. By the way, it has also been used in our team prep before, just because everybody is like watching MSI and shit. And I don't know,
Nathan,
it really works.
Your take.
I haven't played against it yet. There's so few players. So literally for me, they fall in faction specialist or Y. For me, they're Y. Until somebody has come out with this did really well, unless somebody brings it to the WTC and gets like 90 points, it is just like...
Good, because honest, Eric is not coming. We might be safe.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
But at the same time, Eric from Team USA, who was playing GSC, is coming. So,
have you just removed the faction from the tier list right now?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you. Now, honestly, I think a faction specialist might do something with that. But like the army lost so much. Previously, you had the option to like play your sneaky bullshit gameplay and like do shit and move block and infiltrate and something. Now it's so honest and so brutally bad at being honest. I hate it. Like legitimately just
okay.
why.
I have the power of a mouse. I will put it in Y.
So the question we've just gotten is what Myson think. I mean, you can believe I am not fucking our GSC player, so you can guess.
Yeah, I would want to know what Nick Donavati's decision, what's Myson's decision, and what's Eric's decision. Until they tell me it's good, it's a Y for me.
Yeah, like I'm sorry if you're not
unless
genius,
proven
that's
wrong.
Exactly, unless proven wrong.
Yeah,
I'll happily
Wait for that
be
Aussie build
then
hit us in the...
impaled online. Are they even making top 10 this year, brother?
I don't know.
Anyway, moving
Is
on.
anybody making top
Moving
10 this year? It's
surely
the
not
last year
England.
we are all making the top 10 with the Asian teams coming, by the way. So that's a joke.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Nathan, Grey Knights. As the absolute fan of playing Triple Land Raider and the Dread Knights, you probably have something to say, right?
they killed my boys. Like my list went up so many points.
How much did it actually went up? Right, like the triple redeemer, fucking
25 a redeemer, 10 per thing. So
Six-
like 125.
125.
And
So
then
drop
the
the-
assassin dropped some points, but arguably got shit, arguably got better. It's weird. That's
a
that
weird one,
ability. Yeah, that ability is great on some things, awful on other things. It's a weird one. So Grey Knights, they're kind of in a weird position where I actually think they are very good still. Going up those extra points maybe makes them losing another unit, basically, or another character hurts them because you were already teetering on having quite an elite army anyway. I think you'd probably move more towards the hybrid version with some Dread Knights, quite a lot of infantry, but with a more combat meta. I don't know where they sit because they are half decent in combat, but not way better than some people. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So for me, they are. I think they still make optional choice. I still think they are good at scoring. You could even build a very MSU. You can still build the list that has like 70 guys and 2 rhinos, and just flood the board with deep striking guys. That kind of list still works really, really well if it has a place, but it's definitely not a faction specialist. There's loads of GK players, and I think it's much better than a fringe choice. So for me, it's kind of like middle to bottom of optional choice.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think they also lost a lot with the tank shock. Right? That's one of the biggest things.
That hurts a lot. Yeah.
And I'm just gonna mention this. Canis Rex got better as an ally,
but he still wasn't good.
He's ass. He's bad. He's bad. Don't like he will come out. He will shoot that one mythic, and maybe he will kill it, and they will die a awful, awful death. So
he's too squishy.
He's still not good.
He's only what 24 wounds on toughness 12.
Speaking about Canis Rex and all the knights, they are complete ass still.
They're better than CK. Because they actually have better, bigger knights, I think.
Sure. My point would be, yes, you can walk through walls, but you are still probably not killing anything real with the shooting. And maybe like clear some marines, some chaff, and then you die.
Yeah.
After coming, like you cross that wall and you die. You are 3+ save with 5+ invuln, maybe a 4-up, and you die. And maybe something hits you in melee and you die even harder.
True story, bro.
Like, unless big knights go to 2-up save, they will not survive anything in the current game.
Yeah, the
look at the top factions we have. What are they fucking playing against? That's the problem.
Knights big knights at 400 points or big monsters at whatever points don't trade in the current meta. They haven't traded in 6 to 8 months. So that's where they are. A knight comes out, kills a 5-man squad on an objective, and then your 10-man death company comes over and kills a 400-point knight. It's like, cool. That's an awful trade. Because I actually then struggled to kill that unit back, potentially. Yeah. So probably still Y.
Yeah, I am not saying it. dislike them still more. I don't think they are better than Chaos Knights there.
Maybe not.
I think
Yeah.
the small knights are still way better than anything the Imperial Knights can bring.
Definitely, I do agree with that.
I would take them over Imperial Agents. So
That's fair.
Fair.
That's fine. I also like
And
the detail of Imperial Agents being before Deathwatch. Thank you for that. I appreciate.
they have higher win rate according to our stats, right?
That's also true, by the way. It's fucking great.
Guard. Yeah.
So they got fucking killed, or at
They
least
got so many layers of nerfs to how they played before.
But I still think they're good.
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
they have. I think they have a really good mid-board game now. I think you push down the 18 Bullgrin, you take the Hellhounds, you take Lehman Russes. You might still take. This is the problem. People keep saying, "Oh, Manticores are shit now because they hit on 4s." You know, it's still a tank tough. You know, if you shoot it directly, it's still really fucking good. It still hits on like 2+.
yeah,
with a
and
reroll.
it's usually real stuff.
And to be fair, beforehand, like, how often did you engineer them hitting on 2s? Like,
Every time,
you probably
brother, every time.
Yeah.
no
Less so because people were stopping to take Sentinels and things.
Yeah,
90% of the time.
you were hitting on 3s usually,
Yeah.
and
95% actually. I think.
3s and 4s rerolling is not that bad. Like, it is a difference. Like, don't get me wrong, but
What,
they are
14%?
cheaper. They're like what, 20 points cheaper now?
Something like that,
Yeah. So
I think Guard are still, for me, they are optional choice because I still think they have into a combat meta. Bullgrin are really good.
and you still had arguments to play that even in direct platforms from Forge World, right?
I think
which
they
on
went
the average-
down. How much?
Yeah, they went down and they were hitting on
But
4s
how much
anyway
were they
before.
before? One.
Like
I think they
125.
They were like 190, now they're 175 or something.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
something like that. If I'm wrong, correct us
Yeah.
in the comments.
Okay, so that's 15 points. That's not a lot, too. I don't know, guys. I think they controversial take of mine is the highest they can go for me is the faction specialist, because if Skark comes up to me and says he has the best guard build that he's ever come up with and he's fine with it, I might be willing to take that. And I don't think they will be particularly easy to play right now either, because you cannot just lethal hits your artillery and just fuck off, right?
But I do think they have arguably very, very
Manticores
good
were
back-
180, so they came down 5 points.
Oh, is that it?
Okay.
They have very good. They have very good battle line, and I think there will be a bit of a OC war in this meta, a little bit more.
Which, by the way, as we spoke early, playing very aggro and taking over the board might be the play nowadays. So maybe there's
Okay, but do
I,
you have
I can see this.
Okay,
I can see them in
Okay.
faction specialists. as
I
well,
surrender.
but you still need
I
a
surrender
guard
my
player.
point. You're fine. Do whatever you please with them.
I would take them out completely for the sins of their past, if that's what we want to talk about. Necrons, I think they are still good.
I think they are still broken.
Arguably, they still have a lot
it's
of good
every
build.
it's every Devil Slay.
I think the biggest decision and conversation you had before, could you kill 6 Wraiths, is still the same question you need to ask yourself.
I think in a more combat-heavy meta, they start to struggle more because people actually have units that hit really hard. So your Blood Angels smash Necrons, depending on the Necron.
World Eaters.
World Eaters can beat them. Sisters, I don't know yet.
Please don't even encourage Anthony.
Do not bring PTSD to me, okay? Don't talk about Sisters and Necrons, please, okay? Like,
But they probably
please
can
don't.
actually play them now.
yeah.
Nids can play them. If it's talking about the Wraith build, but what's kind of annoying. Well, not annoying, but what's actually kind of good now is there's actually a lot of depth in that codex. There's actually other detachments that are really good. There's a lot more things.
That's
And
right.
then
I remember we discussed when we talked ITT. I think was it Courtney who brought
Courtney
the
with
weekend?
yeah, and he did. I think he got 4 wins and a draw. Did really
That's
well.
what I mean. That army is fucking broken.
I think Silent King got a huge buff.
I might be biased. I just might have the best Necron player in the world in my team. Maybe you can tell, but I think they're fucking busted.
Yeah, so for me, they're still optional choice.
I think they are out of the include. It's your call, Typhus. Do the honors.
Okay. As we have Hackett on our team, the best player of Necrons, I'm taking out the
Yeah,
that's truly how
that's
we...
actually a good point. Someone is bringing up in the chat. The crypt with the secret missions is disgusting. The what Hypercrypt can right now do with the secret missions is just not honest Warhammer in any sense of the word. And also, they nerfed your Catan, so you don't even need to like gaslight yourself into bringing them anymore. You can just not bring the Catan and be fine with it, because you never.
They were bad.
Yeah, exactly. You should never brought them, and now you have a good reason not to. It's even better.
Orcs.
Orcs.
Probably took one of the bigger hits from the update. I think the Horde is harder to justify now. Mega Knobs are harder to justify now. I still think there is a Bully Boys list that you go more down the 30 knob type list. But they would definitely went from like an S tier to a lower tier in this update. I don't know what you guys think about
I think they are optional.
Yeah.
I think you need to tech for them. Because if you get caught out with not enough answers for the Orcs list with the Bully Boys or the Green Tide still, you will get fucked. But they are definitely nowhere near as strong as they used to be.
They are more honest, right? Before, they were oppressive. Like Mega Knobs, sometimes you just couldn't fucking do anything, right? And it was awful to play from both sides because Mega Knobs wouldn't kill anything, but they also wouldn't die. So you were in that limbo of slowly dying because you couldn't kill them. And now you're playing the honest game. They hit you hard, then you hit them, and they hit you hard again, and you might be dead by then.
That's what I mean. It's the weird place where you probably were playing this game of like push and pull and threatening with a wah, but you actually don't do much damage. But the knobs now they just fucking double wah you. So you're like, will I survive? We'll find out in 2 turns. I'm probably dead.
Other kinds of Marines, I have no clue why you would you play Vanguard Ultramarines?
Maybe. I think Ines has talked about it extensively. I think both in the stat check and in like the review of Alan Kremler that they did. You have no good reason to play base Space Marines right now.
Yeah, for me they're a Y because they're
legitimately.
Yeah.
Over anything else? Actually, thank you for doing that, because they are better than Deathwatch because they can bring scouts, which, by the way, Deathwatch now cannot do, which is fun because nobody likes your scouts in your Space Marine builds, right?
Yeah. Space Wolves.
Auga.
Did Puppy Jail die?
Did it die? I don't know. It's increased in
think
points.
It did.
It increased in points.
Went up a lot.
Yeah, it's like what 120 points on the list, something like that, right?
Something like that. So you have a unit less.
At least a decent unit less. Yeah.
Are they better than Black Templars? Like when we talk Black Templars, we are basically talking Iron Storm Black
Yeah, we're
Templars.
talking Ironstorm.
Because I believe that's still the best that the Black Templars have to offer. Even though the Righteous Crusaders and the Gladius might have some play, I still think they are worse.
Yeah.
I
think Space will have. Yeah.
I don't know.
For me, they're faction specialist. Because if you have a Wolf player who plays a lot of Wolf games, then you might be able to justify it more than Blood Angels.
Like, it is another melee army that is worse at melee than Blood Angels.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So, like,
they are kind of a stat check. Right?
When you could find an argument for Black Templars, Iron Storm, First Defender, etc., and I could see an argument for that, you have to compare Space Wolves to Blood Angels. Direct. Sure. Iron Storm is like parallel to that in terms of its role. So I can see it being a faction specialist. You have a guy that cannot wear nipple armor and decides to howl to the moon, and that's your choice of your life. And I can see that. Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, it's faction specialist or fringe. I wouldn't put them in optional, personally.
Yeah.
You howl to the moon. You're happy with that. Now, I have no clue where Tau sits. And like, not a clue. I've seen that army so much and I don't know. Just head empty. I think they might be optional. I'm not sure.
I have very conflicting information.
From the moment that the Tau Codex went out and it has been played, I still cannot decide if I love this faction or hate it, or I just don't care about it. I cannot form an opinion about this codex.
I went through a roller coaster because I thought it was quite good. Then I saw scores from ITT and Nassim and Brian schooling some kids and then losing to actual players. And
that's what I mean.
Then I went.
It was very fun.
And then I went to Dallas with Art of War, where Siegler was like, "I want to play. I can play everything." I was like, I cannot have an opinion at this point.
What I want to say about Tau is I cannot wait for Nassim to bring some overcooked shit in Tau and just struggle entire tournament, or to come up with the best absolute build that will destroy every single army that we are not aware of. Both of those I find equally possible. That's my take on it. What are we doing with Tau? Because I don't know. Maybe faction specialist. Maybe you just need the best Tau player on the planet. Maybe you need the Nassim.
This is a mono phase army.
We're not saying Nassim's the best Tau player.
No. There's Kyle Grundy, right? So
you've got Kyle, you've got Siegler.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Faction specialist? Question mark.
So for me, I've not seen them play on WTC terrain, so I can't really comment enough. On UKGT terrain or GW terrain, they've been quite good. They have a lot of good things.
And they also got a huge buff with movement, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Enormous.
Hammerhead's got, and Devilfish's got a huge buff.
Yeah.
So for me, they're optional choice, but I can see them in factional specialist.
I think I will go optional. Like, I've seen plenty of people have good success with them. I can see it being just played. And I do not think the argument we had for like Admech or Demons or Drukhari with players not jumping on the faction and just being very dedicated players of that faction apply here. Like Tau is a faction that people jump on and off throughout the years.
Yeah. Very funny story. So about Tau, if we are on it. So do you know the enhancement Pure Tight Ingran ship on Tau? Because that's the best thing I have seen all week. I love this shit. It's so great.
Where is it?
You can find it.
Is this the thing that became absolutely useless?
You can pay
Yes.
all 25 points for the enhancement.
Okay, boys,
to
boys.
not
Let
do
me.
anything.
I've got this. I've got this. I've got this.
It's pretty fucking great, is what I'm saying. It's only 25 points for legitimately nothing. It's pretty good.
No, you nerf yourself. you just nerf yourself.
Nah, that's not it.
No,
right?
because once per turn, you can target the birds you need with a stratagem. Not
no,
more.
there must be something. It basically doesn't.
That
work.
looks edited.
That's edited.
That's
That's
literally
fine, by the way.
pointless.
That's literally trolling. Do it properly. Give the people what they want.
No.
What the fuck? This is just. I need an app. I'm like, I just checked it as well, and it's pretty bad. Pure tide. We can move on into terrains, which are broken, by the way.
Yeah. Nathan, you are a tyrannic, not tyrannic fanboy.
No, I'm a tyrannic fanboy. So I'm going to be super biased because I think Nids are really fucking good now. I don't think they make it into auto include. I think they just miss out, but I would put them around the Eldar Thousand Suns mark. Personally, I think Vanguard got a huge boost. The ability for getting +1 strength in combat, gets certain units, the ability to... the break points of being able to hit certain things at strength 6 is massive. The additional keywords to Trigons, Morlocks, and Ravners opens up a lot, especially now that you can also use the strat for first turn deep striking.
I just want to mention that that's exactly the wording, but what Typhus posted makes just as much sense because
yes,
it doesn't work. I love this so much. It's so entertaining to me. I don't know why you can pay 25 points just to not do anything. It's so good. I love it. I'm sorry.
Can tournaments start doing awards for people who just take that?
It's so good.
Because
If I had 25 points spare, I would do it.
yeah, it's just fun.
Legitimately, you can make your list 2,000 points on the nose with it. And it doesn't give you anything. It's the droning.
No. You actually have a benefit because your opponent will spend time reading it and trying to figure out what it does.
That is value. You can explain to your opponent what it does. You can just tell them the wording. It's amazing. I love it so much.
Anyway, back to Nids.
Back to this.
Yeah, I think they're fantastic. I think the Neuro Tyrant being able to join Zoanthropes is a very big thing. Although a lot of people are misconstruing
Big guns never tire. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work on them.
Why?
It just doesn't because it's split. Its unit the unit has the ability, but it is still individual models with the monster keyword. That is not attained to just the -1 to hit section. Zoanthropes do not shoot in combat hitting on 2s. No.
I have definitely seen that happening, by the way.
That is not happening.
Recent games I've seen.
But yeah, that gives them. It also means that because they've got a monster in the unit, you can shoot zones in combat. Fair enough. It's annoying. But yeah, all the combat being improved because there was a lot of time where you have great combat abilities and then it'd be strength 9. So it's kind of pointless. Now that they're like strength 10 or now that they're strength 6, it puts them in a great place. The strat being able to move, being able to deep strike turn 1 is massive for Vanguard. It's very good. So I would put them in optional choice. I think they're very, very good now.
Nids are at least a high optional. That's my opinion. They are fucking awesome. Yeah, they are fucking awesome right now.
Which is sad because I'm a little bit like you, Typhus. I hate when my faction's really, really good because I like to be emo and alternative. and
Yeah,
Yeah.
Needs
Yeah.
are just good.
It's
They-
gonna be-
I know, like Ines will gaslight all of you guys for like months that they are not good. He will bring them to fucking WTC. That's what I'm
and
saying.
then
I'm
bring
just saying
tens,
that. Like,
and
it's
then
going
bring
to happen.
tens, and just fucking sandbag
My
Team
inside,
Scotland.
yes. Yeah, I can see
Lovely.
that happening as well.
Absolutely
hope that
masterful move.
I hope that happens.
So
We're always good, by the way. They are just now better. Vodan, the most honest army in the game. With one of the best units in the game currently. Jaegers are
yeah, what? Why?
nuts. Insane. Bonkers price point for that unit and what it does to the army. I think they are optional. Just off of them. Legitimately.
so I think they got a huge buff in teams because people won't take Ironstorm anymore.
That's also a good take. I like that a
So
lot.
how many times did we see like a Alpine or whatever, people were taking like Ironstorm and Votan, and it's just like, why are you taking Votan if it doesn't get to pick the table? Now it probably can. If it is one of your first put forwards and picks a light table, it's pretty solid. Actually, having Scout means that your vehicles do actually get to objectives early. So they don't have some of the shortfalls that other armies have that maybe relied on advance and actions and whatnot. I actually think Votan are pretty decent.
I think they're at least
Yeah.
optional choice. I like the amount of
I
units
think
they
they're
can also
somewhere
field.
against
They can
Tau.
split their chaff into the Sagittars, and they have a lot of mobility through that to
You
do
have
missions.
to compare Votan to Tau.
Yeah. I can kind of
And
agree
if
with that.
Tau make it optional, I think Votan also.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Thank you. The Eaters. The problem. The point of contention, let's call it. The elephant in the room. The difference between Poland's and USA's lineup. Interesting. Are they good? They've gained a unit. Any
Yeah.
opinions about them? Because
I think they're good.
think they're good. It is more of a combat meta. I don't think they have the units to necessarily score with. You're now sacrificing units for less points potentially, but in a combat meta, they give you answers into a decent amount of the top armies. Maybe not answers, but as in they're playable into some of the top armies. Actually, are they?
that's what
I
I
dunno.
mean.
Yeah.
You look at the fucking top factions and everything wrecks them. And then Anthony brings them to some bullshit European tournament with us and he smashes everybody. And I don't know.
We just cannot give
legitimately-
him Shlivovica again. And
That's
then
what I
we're
mean.
fine.
You just gotta get them drunk.
Like we just don't. I guess we just not give him alcohol and we're fine at WTC. That's the plan. But other than that,
Yep.
As an honest opinion, I am not a fan of Eaters right now. I think
But are they-
struggle.
Are they a fringe choice or are they a faction specialist?
I think they are a fringe choice. I think they are a fringe choice. I think you bring them because they can.
Anthony deserves it for it to be faction specialist. I like the guy. But they are lower than Wolves because
that must be what it is. That is actually true. Yes, they must be lower than Wolf Jail. I agree.
Yep.
That's it.
Now-
We have it. Now, do we want to shuffle anything? That's like an interesting question.
And
Do
I
we
will
think-
prepare the show questions in the meantime, boys.
You do, and let's discuss this. Are we happy with Sisters being the best army for teams in the entire game?
I think Blood Angels. But
Yeah,
I can
think
definitely
that's
see.
correct as
I
well.
can definitely see.
Man,
Yeah,
making this list, I'm feeling like it's so just winging it.
Oh yeah, we didn't do
I'm gonna
any
be-
prep for this.
Like, it's insane. As in, like, I think this WTC is going to be good, is what I'm saying. Because most of those factions you can legitimately bring, is what I'm seeing. And
Yeah.
like, auto-include, is it actually auto-include, or is it mostly auto-include? Is it optional choice?
If you
or
were
is it
asking
oftentimes-
me, it would be this.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, there is an argument that some teams will probably not take Necrons, and some teams will possibly not take Chaos Space Marines.
Some teams will not bring. I don't think there's going to be a single faction that every single one team brings. There's no way.
Yeah, not everyone
I think.
broke Eldar last year,
I
right?
think my bet is the most represented faction is going to be around 70% of teams, not
Sure.
even higher.
So then it just become a 70, 60, 50, 40, 30.
I think so.
Percentage.
Like,
Well, let's
Basically,
call
yeah.
Y 10%.
yeah, but I think there isn't going to be a one faction that every single team brings. I don't think that's happening. And in some way, I think just because of that list looks fine to me.
I
I
actually
don't
don't mind them. I actually don't mind them in optional choice.
Yeah, I just bring down
Yeah.
CSM. Just bring down CSM. I hate CSM as in like it feels wrong to me. I think they are very good. I don't think they are out-include. If I'm
In
gonna
all
be honest,
fairness,
there is
I
no
think
out-include.
I would say you need to, like, Blood. I would not expect every team to bring Blood Angels, but I think you're sandbagging yourself if you're not bringing Blood Angels, and you're sandbagging yourself if you're not bringing Sisters. The other factions, I can see a different role in the team comp.
Do Sisters still need a good player? Or is somebody who's never ever played Sisters now picking them up for the WTC?
I think the army mechanic requires you to be decent.
Okay.
But the army mechanic is also really fucking broken. So,
Do you think they're a skill check?
To some extent, yes. But I feel like if you have a decent Sisters player, they will absolutely wreck face nowadays.
Okay. So the only other one that I'm not sure about is Guard, because Guard are either optional choice or fringe, because they're not a faction specialist.
Okay.
From our
Put them
previous
in fringe.
criteria,
Bring them down.
you could
Put them in fringe
stop a
choice.
fringe.
That's fair. I think demons. I don't know. Demons are fine. They're where they are. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I like this.
I get my Sisters top of the tier, feeling good.
The Sisters are weird. The Sisters are a faction that definitely, if I had to switch someone to Sisters right now to practice WTC, I would do that. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I
you'd
think
At
make
this
somebody
point
on
of
your team.
time,
Same.
yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
So none of the optional choices you would make one of your players play.
Not necessarily, unless it makes perfect sense for the team comp, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
As
Maybe,
in, like, I
for
need this
example, you
faction
have-
in my team for a specific role. Someone needs to play it, then I do it. For those two that are up there, I think you are default kind of like you start building
Or
a team, you default someone.
Yeah. In the optional choice, you're looking for a gun line, and then you can choose from either CSM, Voten, Tau, Guard, right? Those factions can fill that role. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's get into show questions, and we have quite few of them, so maybe we'll manage to.
It's a hype show. Everybody wants.
We've got 20 minutes. We can power through.
Sure.
Go.
How much overlap do you think there will be in army selection between teams? I think we've learned the previous year there will probably be like 3-4 factions that are very common, and then we will encounter a lot of fringe choices. And that's something that was very common when we were looking in previous episodes throughout any team event, basically. We were looking at it like a distribution that 3 teams were very, very popular. I mean, not teams, factions. And the remainder was very scattered depending who you had on a given army. So I would expect that we will have 3-4 factions that are like 70 to 90% of the teams overall, and then you have absolute shit show with whatever the team felt like they wanted to bring?
I think it's going to be way more diverse than last year. I think you have
You
three
don't have
factions. Like legitimately, you have maybe 3 factions that will make it above 50% of the teams. I think the meta is so wide open. It's so hard to make a cohesive team comp, and you have so many options to fill specific roles in a team that people just might go with anything. So I honestly think the diversity throughout the whole WTC lineup is going to be massive. I think it's going to be way better than last year, where there were things like GSC and Elder, and we don't have that right now. We don't have those types of, you cannot show up without Elder. You can actually show up without Sisters. It's not the same level of broken. You shouldn't,
Yeah,
but it's not the same level.
And we got the question, what was last year? It was Eldar, GSC, and Custodes. Those and CSM to some extent. Those factions were everywhere. Yeah,
Necrons extremely popular, right? With the Lich.
Thousand Suns were popular as well.
Yeah. There were a lot of very popular factions. I think this year is going to be a lot less of that.
Yeah. Great. Then, moving on to another question. Pumba, you know DevGuard. Is the army basically just doing the same thing but a bit worse? Or is there new things that open up as we lose our precious action potatoes to the great OC0 in the sky?
Yeah, so as I was discussing when we talked about DevGuard, I think if you are doing the same thing, you are doing it worse. If you are trying to skew into Mortarion PBCs, that doesn't work anymore. So I think what you might consider doing is skewing into the mech list that like Nathan ran at IT, something like that. If you are trying to do the same thing, you are playing the loose by a bit, but worse than previously, and the missions don't premium that at all. So I'm not a fan. Yeah, it's rough, actually. Very disappointed with the DevGuard changes. So you might need to find a skew for the army to go with a very specific direction right now, instead of being like on
forward. Nathan, are there any wrong choices with armies anymore, or does a faction specialist make anything viable more than ever?
Death Watch is a bad choice. No, it's kind of a very vague question. Not that it's a bad question. I'm just saying there are worse. Let's just say there's worse choices. But like we saw, there was probably more faction specialists than we would normally see. As in, they are very viable, but you need somebody who plays them a lot. Like Admechas, I don't know enough about them. Super viable, but you need somebody to play them. So I do think that faction specialist makes anything more viable than ever. Yeah.
I think both of them are true at the same time. I think faction specialism is extremely valuable right now. If you have a faction specialist in Imperial Knights, if he comes up against someone who is in equal skill level, that the fact that he's a faction specialist will not carry him. So you have bad choices. At the same time, not so bad anymore. Definitely better than it ever has been, from my memory.
How do we all alter WTC lists for singles? Or how do you know what teams' lists will take off in singles? I don't think necessarily a whole list will translate from teams to singles, but throughout the years, we saw that certain choices and ideas that were either in list or like the whole list would translate to singles. Like there was a mention of 2022 Eric's GSC list that was very popular afterwards, right? After 23, we had a lot more Redeemers and Fugans after the Polish result, right? I think there will be not a direct list reliance on how it works in singles. But I think the ideas will then be cooked from what we have. Because I genuinely think the addition and the changes that we encounter now are like 10.5. Like we're playing 10.5. So we are with a little bit more knowledge compared to previous WTC, but we are still playing basically a new game with just mechanics being very, very similar. But how everything unfolds on the board is different to what we've learned throughout the year. So I don't think we alter WTC lists for singles. You can take them for singles, but have in mind that some of them are designed to dodge their bad matchups, and you can just lose games because you were mispaired. Like last year's Skark list was not meant to play some games.
Oh, it really wasn't. Yeah. Good answer. Good answer.
Thank you.
Good answer.
So now a new mission pack, rules update, and points are up on us. What are the big things teams should be focusing on now? Nathan, as the person not on the team, I think you are the best one to answer that one.
That makes me the least qualified to answer this question. Right, time to wing this.
If you would rather, I can actually answer that because I'm doing the shit.
Yeah, you can chip in if I miss anything specific. When a meta is still somewhat up in the air, I think you have to try and pick certain armies for certain tables. Pick certain army with a rough idea of what you think might be playing against them, what might be paired against them. I think you have to try and encompass a balance more than a skew when you have somewhat of an unsettled meta. And if you can design armies that are inherently good at the pack, whether it be scoring or, I don't know, even the secret missions or whatever, that will probably put you in a good stead, especially if you've had reps on that army, rather than last minute panicking, taking something that is going to dominate the meta, and then that meta doesn't appear. If you're trying to be safe, play something that's inherently good at missions, inherently good at the pack. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Pumba.
That's a very good take. What I will
Very
add,
vague.
very vague, but at the
Very
same
vague.
time, it's very team dependent. So, this is exactly the time where you need to lean on the fact that you chose a specific team of 8 people, and sometimes maybe the group is more people, maybe it's less, but you at least have 8 players. You need to lean on the fact that those players were good enough that you decided you are going to bring them to WTC and play. So now you lean on them to make shit up as fast as they can and test the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
Designing a team comp right now is gonna be hell. I should know. What you need from your players is to figure their lists with a specific factions on the spot as soon as possible and test it extensively. And then you try making adjustments. What you need to do right now is figure the mission pack out, play at least, I don't know, 5 to 10 games on it to have the basis of where do you think the missions are going, what do you need in your army. Based on that, you make your first lists, and based on those lists, you try to wing the estimation matrices, and then you see where you're lacking. And you've got like a week for that. Good luck. Have fun. It's insanity, by the way, but it's basically what it is.
Yeah, it's trying to get your team sorted as quick as possible while also not taking any ideas off the table.
Exactly. And then trying to not get surprised by anything, which isn't going to happen, and then try to make sure that you don't have huge gaps in your team comp that you just don't have answered for specific armies that might be popular. It's nightmare. Everybody have fun with that next month.
Not my fucking problem.
So WTC have said they won't FAQ the pivot rule for deep strike charges as they have reason to believe it's intentional by GW. Where do you think it makes sense for the WTC to change rules? In example, that twin charge for ruins and adhere to what GW says. I think there were some calcs done, like the actual deep strike and pivot, and how much inches you lose by pivoting. Like it's not as much as you would expect.
Yeah, it's not
the problem is
game
with
breaking.
all the 60mm hulls because they pivot
Yeah,
for
like
free, right?
raiders and what.
Raiders, hammerheads, monoliths, stuff like that.
If you are charged by hammerhead from reserves, God bless.
So
You deserve that.
Exactly. What I'm going to say is that it's definitely not game breaking, and the ruling it might not stick. Is what I'm saying. It's still up in the air if that it's allowed, but the overall consensus is it doesn't matter super much. As in, it's dumb as hell, but it's not going to break Warhammer in half. So maybe we just keep it and just play it like everybody else. Whereas the charges through walls is a completely different beast, which is not similar because how it changes the flow of the game, and it will not change because there is no will in the WTC captain's chat and like general community to change that rule because we like it, and it's been great for the last 3 years now where it's been in place.
What impact has the existence of secret missions on the team comp building? I don't know, man. I don't feel that high on the secret missions after playing a little bit.
They are relevant. You need to learn them by heart. You need to be prepared for what your opponent might be trying to achieve. You need to realize that they might attempt a secret mission before they do. It's kind of readable. But at the same time, they are complete ass when going first, and they actually don't swing games as much as we suspected, because if you are going to hold 3 objectives in the middle of the board and somehow not score with the 4th and 5th turns more than 20 points is kind of weird. So actually, they're okay. Is my take.
Yeah.
I think it might come up where a very, very tight round might get pushed into a draw because because it is potentially 4 points.
Yeah, but
it is
essentially in the games it is more like 2 points, right? If you account the primary you would have gotten.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I think it's in missions where maybe your home doesn't count. It could be more effective, especially if it is like a warlord, anything that has like a 3-inch deep strikes, your Grey Knights, your Necrons, that kind of thing, that can maybe do warlord on home objective, enemy home objective, or like you say, anything going second that can hold 3. Eldar might be able to play that on occasion just because it means they don't have to sacrifice units to try and hold. But yeah, I don't think they're going to break. There was obviously the hype that teams is fucked now because everyone's just going to get draws. I don't think that's the case.
I don't think that's the case at all. I think they are fine. I think they are a new mechanic worth learning, but they are not backbreaking, and they will not destroy the meta, and just saw it in half. Get good. Don't get scammed.
Tiger Shark, 275 points of ultimate depth or just a lesson in screening. Who will have the most surprising comp, good or bad at Pyra? Okay. Whilst Pumba is dying, I want Nathan to answer the first part.
Motherfucking Tiger Shark, bro.
Why am I answering this? Go for it, buddy. You do you.
The fucking Tiger Shark.
If it makes you happy, live the life you want to live.
So what I'm going to say, this before every single Pyra, for some reason, there is talk about Tiger Sharks. And it's happened twice now, which is weird. But we almost brought one to the last one.
Yep.
And now it's come up again, and it's the same fucking discussion, and you try to place it, and I don't know. People are terrified. People say it's shit. People have differing opinions about the Tiger Shark. Go test it. I am going to be very I'm like, if you are coming to Pyra, please bring a tiger shark. If you don't bring a tiger shark, we can cut it out of the box of a pizza box. It's probably going to be fine, to be honest. Just have the dimensions ready. We tried that already, by the way. It kind of works. It has this 160 millimeter base, by the way. It's more than 6 inches. The rules changed about that, but it's a 160 millimeter base that you need to place legally 9 inches from your opponent on the board. I don't know. It's crazy. Who will have the most surprising comp, good or bad, at Pyra? It's going to be the Dutch.
Is Dino playing?
I believe so. He asked
Because
the
then
question.
it is surely the worst.
He asked the question. I will just say the Dutch and not elaborate further.
Fair. Good. I like that. Any standout must-have factions for 5-person teams at the moment? Sisters and Blood Angels. Can we continue?
Yeah, I agree.
When will teams finally acknowledge the red-headed stepchild that is Wolf Jail?
When
In
they
Australia,
stop-
they have.
When they stop looking at Blood Angels? I don't know.
Wolves have the stepchild problem, as you've said. You have the main child, and the main child used to be Iron Storm, and now it's Blood Angels, and it's everybody's darling. That's the problem.
Then we got the super chat. Thank you. What does a sister singles format Bringers of Flame list look like? Because everyone's keeping silent on their team's list with sisters until WTC is over.
That's awesome.
I will not tell you my specific list. Sorry. But well, let's say that there are units who are better pointed than others. If you choose those and just multiply it 3 times, you end up with money list, and that list is good.
Yeah, you can kind of smash your head about this codex. Bring the efficient units. Like that list actually isn't that difficult to make if you just go nuts with it. So you're gonna be fine. We are sorry. We are also, as we discussed, we are also keeping it silent before WTC.
Yeah, but I think if you are looking,
here's what you take in the list.
Nathan, come on,
Go-
like if you
go
have
on, Nathan.
exactly, like legitimately.
No, I actually haven't played against the Bringer of Flame list yet, like on table. So I don't know where. And I to keep myself neutral, I'm not in any like team chats.
for your own sanity.
Yeah,
we should just fucking invite Nathan to Team Poland right now. It's gonna be.
Oh yeah,
so
Nathan,
funny.
how do you feel about that?
I know like 6 Polish
We
words now.
already infiltrated you and Josh.
Yeah, definitely. What's that phrase she told me to say? Jaki kurwa wajny.
Thank you.
Thank you
for the Nathan for the input. We should actually invite Nathan to the chat right now. I think he might just he'll be fine, right? He'll figure it out.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I
You'll
keep
at
my
least have
impartiality.
something to do with your girlfriend, right? Just read Polish team chat. as
Yeah,
one
she
does.
can translate everything for me.
Surely she can. Surely.
It's not even Polish. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's mostly just fucking Warhammer gibberish. Are we done with the questions?
Yes.
And only
We finished them
Polish
before
gibberish.
2 hours.
Cool. See
Boys.
people. Bye. Plugs.
Yeah, I'm
Plugs.
not doing. You want to do plugs?
We need to do plugs. What do you mean? You step up your game times. I will try.
No.
I will one day. I need to do the list of plugs. I say that every 2 weeks, bro. It's bad. So this has been Enter the Matrix, one of the great shows of StatCheck Network. Please, if you like it, come to watch other shows on the network, which includes the main show that happened last Tuesday and happens every Tuesday, where people like Ines, Nathan, Anthony, Kiri talk Warhammer and stats. Unless it's balanced data slate, then they just talk Warhammer and bullshit like we usually do instead of stats because there
And
aren't
tier
any.
lists when you
And
have
tier
no clue what
lists.
to do.
Exactly. That's what we do. You can check out Take All Commerce. I don't think they have come out with after the data slate episode yet, so that's going to be hype. I'm definitely going to catch that. We have Steve Joel with the Champions of 40K, which just released another episode of that show. Please check out our sponsors, Red Dragon.ca, Red-Dragon.ca. You have the links in the description. Check them out. Come join our Patreon where you can ask us questions.
And make
And
sure
we'll-
we do not fade within 2 hours.
Exactly. You can have direct responsibility of us going over 2 hours every single episode, so that's fun. Yeah. From this quick note, especially as we get a super chat, all the proceeds from Patreon and super chats that we get in all of our shows this month is going to be donated to LGBTQ charities. I know we have picked one. I think we are looking for other ones, so you can always shoot us messages if you have one of those. I'm out of plugs. I'm sure I've missed many things. I am very sorry for that. But hey, it's been a fun one. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
David, show us the actual tier list so I can screenshot it and just fucking
just
paste it all over
spreading disinformation, right? Oh yeah, I have one thing to show, boys. And no, not my pull request. Sorry. I'll be right back, boys. I have something to show.
I am terrified right now.
This sounds like we're going to get cancelled.
That's exactly what it sounds like. I am just considering just turning off the live stream right now before he does it.
No, that actually
still
Julia
dressed.
took the dog on a walk, and I wanted to show a cute puppy.
You have a puppy right now.
Yes.
I assume you're just taking care of somebody else's dog.
Yeah, obviously. But I
Cool.
wanted to show a cute puppy, but I disappointed as always. But boys, my internet withheld for 2 hours.
That's fucking great. We did it. We had
Thank you,
Titus
God
for the
of
entire-
cables in the building.
in
I'm glad.
entire show with us. That's crazy. That hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah.
What are we thinking in terms of other shows? Are we doing? We are probably going into some fucking list reviews for WTC, right? Because it's coming. It's really close, actually. Oh my
and we
god,
can
it's so
talk
close.
shit. Yep.
Yeah, we can
2.5
discuss everything that's not like Poland because privilege.
And we can talk England because we can insult them at this point.
Yes, and that's gonna be so. I cannot wait. It's gonna be the mayhem. Everybody's gonna bring some stupid bullshit. Awesome. Can't wait for that.
And thanks to everyone viewing.
Yeah,
because
great
this
episodes,
has been,
great
I
viewership.
think, the most watched episode of anything on our network. So
you see, we don't need Vic or Brian to drive us views. We are just that good.
They are just ankle
You
weights at this point.
just
We just needed to drop them.
I'm sorry. It just works 100% of the time.
Perfect.
All right, let's go to sleep. See you at the next one. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, people.